That's just how it feels. Like it could be like that. But then when I rubbed it and massaged it, it just went away. And also it went away instantly. Like touching it and rubbing it, it went away. Like imagine a water balloon and you were pinching the little nozzle, and then by massaging it, it like just squirted the water out and it just went away.
Welcome to the Iconoblast podcast. This is the show that takes a look behind the public facades of famous icons to show you why you can never take anything at face value. My name is Cooper, and sitting next to me, apparently with a pear in his pants, is Joel Benner.
What up?
Iconoblast! We put the past on blast! Hit them with the truth, with things you never knew. Nobody is safe, no thing to place. Got Joel and Coop with history in your face. Iconoblast!
It's been that way for 4 months.
Yeah.
And you just started rubbing on it recently.
Yeah. That's the naughty place. You're not allowed to touch that area.
I know for a fact that you've touched that area multiple times before.
No, just the penis.
All right. Well, in 1919, a German chemist named Fritz Haber was awarded the Nobel Prize for his discovery of a process that would save the lives of millions. I don't think it would save your life considering your current medical problems, but we do both owe our lives to this guy.
This ain't gonna kill me. Don't worry.
Not only did his discovery save the lives of millions, it led to the human population quadrupling in size. So we talked about Thomas Midgley Jr. at one point, who was, in my opinion, one of the most damaging and influential people in history. This guy actually has him beat. That's why I was excited about doing this episode.
Oh, shit. Because the other guy, he invented lead or whatever?
He invented leaded gasoline, and he also created Freon, which are very, very damaging chemicals.
Killed lots of people.
In terms of influence, this guy definitely has him beat, though. I was surprised to find out. Haber is so influential that it wouldn't be an exaggeration for me to say that pretty much everyone listening to this podcast right now owes their existence to him, including you and I.
No shit.
He's
What's
that
his name?
influential. Fritz Haber.
Fritz.
Or Fritz Haber, however you want to pronounce it. As such an influential chemist, many of Haber's peers were invited to attend his Nobel Prize ceremony to show support for his amazing discovery. Of all the legendary minds invited to the ceremony, including Einstein was one of his peers, all but 2 refused to attend. The men who refused did so because they knew of Haber's contributions to World War I, which they believed outweighed the positive aspects of the process that he discovered.
What did he do in World War I?
We're going to find out. We're getting to that.
Oh, I like this. What did he invent? We're going to find out.
That's what we're going to find out.
Okay.
Actually, the next line is, what was this process discovered by Fritz Haber, and how could it simultaneously save millions of lives while
it's like you knew what I was thinking.
While getting him ostracized from the academic community? Well, to answer that question, we need to talk about poop and deadly gases. I was also thinking about you when I wrote that one, too.
My favorite stuff. You know I love poop.
Oh, I know you do.
Well, actually, I hate poop, but I love talking about it.
So I screwed up and I didn't make the font big enough on these pages. I'm having a hard time reading it right now.
I gave you a lamp.
No, I know you gave me a lamp. I just need to hold it a little closer to my face.
You lost your glasses.
I didn't lose them. My former foster dog chewed them up. He's got a happy new home, though.
So you only have 2 dogs?
Yep, back down to 2 dogs. And they don't chew up my glasses like the last one did.
We need to get you glasses.
Oh, yeah, you're telling me I can barely see shit right now.
God damn. You're just blind walking around?
And driving. Can you imagine that?
It's awesome.
In the hit film Ace Ventura 2, When Nature Calls,
Great film.
the primary antagonist is attempting to drive a tribe from their land to gain access to the sweet, sweet guano located in a sacred cave of their bat god, Shikaka. Thank you.
I kneeled for audio listeners.
Although the movie is a comedy, the value of guano depicted in the film is surprisingly very real.
Chicago.
Did you know that bat shit and bird shit is insanely expensive? Or it used to be. It's a little bit cheaper now. It's extremely valuable. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like...
No, I didn't know that.
It's the poop equivalent of gold.
Guano bowls. Collect the whole set. The great white bat makes great white guano.
Guano is the technical term for the poop of seabirds or bats. Just over 100 years ago, guano was in such high demand that a single pound of crusty shit was worth $0.25 pound of gold.
Whoa.
You would need an
Guano gold.
You would need an entire pound of gold to buy 4 pounds of bird shit.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Hell yeah.
See, dude, I knew it. Poop is valuable, and I always knew it was important in some way. I just didn't understand it.
It's been valuable throughout history, honestly. I mean, they used to have
Make
gong
fucking
farmers.
fertilizer with this shit.
Yeah, they used to have gong farmers back in the day that would go around and just scoop up everybody's poop and pee and then sell it. Because not only would they use it for fertilizer, they would also use it for tanning. The pee they would use for tanning.
Wait, they would use the pee for tanning? Like leather?
Not a tanning, yeah, tanning leather, not a tan. I thought you were going to talk about a tanning bed. No,
Well, that's the
tanning leather.
When you said tanning, I thought of people tanning their skin, but then I was like, okay, well, no, it's probably leather.
They were tanning leather, yeah.
But okay, good.
Being so valuable.
Wait.
What?
Well, you had a sentence in there where you said poop and pee. And it's sticking with me, and it made
Wait, no,
me...
I didn't say poop and pee.
Yes, you did. You said poop and pee together.
No, I said poop and pee to you. It wasn't part of the notes.
You were reading, because they were selling the poop and pee for
The
money.
gong farmers were.
Yeah. I know this is way off topic right now, because we're talking about a man that invented something and killed people, but isn't
He
it?
saved a lot of people, too.
So poop by itself is pretty cool, and pee by itself is pretty cool, but when you say poop and pee together, it flows and it's funny. Come on, it is.
It is. I'm very glad that you pointed that out, too.
Okay, continue.
Being so valuable, harvesting guano was obviously a highly lucrative business, leading many entrepreneurs to seek out concentrated sources.
There were people mining for poo.
Oh, dude, just wait. The best source for these tantalizing
I like
turds
this.
are from literal islands of shit in the ocean.
This is reminding me of our fart episodes. Our least
I thought about that
listened to episodes.
Because one of the things that we talked about in the fart episodes was the fact that dinosaur farts changed the entire environment with the amount of methane that they were putting into the air.
Similar to like what all the cows are doing.
Poop has been extremely influential throughout
And no
not
one
just
wants to talk
human
about
history, the entire history of existence. Poop has been very influential.
Dude, I have some of my best ideas when I'm pooping. So not even the poop itself, but also the process of poo-pooing can help. I bet you Einstein discovered relativity while taking a shit.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did, because that's one of the few places where you can truly be by yourself.
Exactly.
Like, it's a nice place where you know that nobody's going to bother you outside.
no one wants
maybe
to.
if you have kids or a
No, even kids, yeah.
overly
fuck,
nosy
yeah.
spouse, they're going to fuck with you
People
while you're
know
taking
it's
a
the
shit.
no-no zone.
Yeah, it's
It's poopy time.
time to be private, a time to spend a minute with your thoughts and just enjoy yourself and relax.
Everybody has all sorts of different fucking stories about going poo-poo.
I have my best existential
bad.
crises when I'm taking a shit
Yeah,
first thing in the morning.
It's
That's
time
where I'm
to
just
think.
like, oh
It's
my god, what
meditation.
am I doing with my life? I gotta fix things.
I think you've been thinking that for a long time.
Birds flying around out at sea occasionally need to land to buy some snacks for the road or maybe meet that special someone. These avian travelers often stop at rocky outcroppings where they can have sex, eat, and poop. And the pooping part is what's really, really important. When they depart to continue their journey, they leave behind a runny smear of white gold in the form of guano and maybe just a little bit of bird cum.
Chicago.
After hundreds or thousands of years, all that bird shit builds up, creating entire shitty islands, some of which are over 100 feet tall.
Poop islands.
100 feet of bird shit, and it's worth almost its weight in gold.
A quarter of its weight in gold.
A quarter of
Well,
its weight
at the
in
time.
gold. Yeah. It's
Currently, maybe, is it lost value or gained?
yeah, it's lost value since then. So it capped out at about Like back in the late 1800s, it was about $76 per pound, which that's when it made it roughly the equivalent of a quarter of a pound of gold for 1 pound of bird shit.
Have you seen a poop island?
Oh, yeah, you can find pictures of them all over the place.
No, in person, because I have.
No, not in person.
When I went to Peru, we went on this boat ride out to this, like, it's supposed to be, it was a bird thing. Like, millions of birds live on this island. It's a poop island.
Was it on the coast or was it in?
It's off the coast, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But in a there's no waves or anything. It's like a lake coast inlet thing, sort of like a
lagoon, a bay?
Yeah, like a, when the ocean curves in and curves a little, cuts all the waves down. So there's no waves, and there were like literally millions of birds shitting. We got shit on they tell you like you're probably gonna get poo-pooed on.
You should have saved that. That'd be worth money. You could probably get like 75 cents off that.
Yeah. If I can find that footage, I'll play it because I have footage of Clayton. I was with Clayton, and he's like zooming in with the lens, trying to film like a fucking seal on a rock because he's just excited. No one gives a shit about a seal, dude. We were out there shooting a documentary about something way more important, and he's like zooming in on a seal, and then a bird shit just goes bat right on his fucking chest. But yeah, dude, there was poop islands, and part of the tour, like the tour guide was talking about bird shit, but he never said its value financially. He was always just talking about how many tons of poo per year.
It's so valuable that back in like I want to say that it was maybe the 1850s or something like that, the United States government passed a law that any U.S. citizen can claim a bird shit island for the U.S. And there's something like 20 or 30 of these islands that were claimed by individual U.S. citizens that are just islands of shit.
Holy shit.
And that law is still in effect. If you find an unclaimed island out in the ocean that's entirely bullshit, or bird shit,
you mean bird shit, yeah.
You can claim that in the name of America, and it's legal.
Okay, I don't know if these islands formed from shit from under the water to the surface.
They don't start underneath the water. It starts off as like a
little tiny thing, but
that birds land on, and
I remember seeing it. I'm like,
they can be huge.
Yeah, humans used to live on a little part of this island, and it's been abandoned for like 100 years. And there was a bridge that's broken, and on the bridge were like, when you're you're a kid, or maybe you as an adult, you're at the beach and you're playing by the water, but you're afraid of the waves, so you sit where the waves stop, and then you start making those little water sand castles where you like hold it in your hand and let it drip through your fingers, and it makes those cool little piles. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, it's how
those were like
stalagmites form. Like
that, yeah. Those were like all over this bridge.
But they were all just bird shit.
It was all bird shit, yeah. Imagine the size difference between like in your palm. Each one was like the size of a car.
God damn.
Yeah, and I just thought it was like formations or something weird, and they were like, that's bird shit. Like the guy was like, the tour guy was like, see those mounds, those weird mounds on that broken bridge over there? You couldn't even tell it was a broken bridge until he told you. You're like, oh, I see the parts that broke. Like, that's all bird shit.
Now imagine going over there and chipping off chunks of that, and it's $76 per pound.
Ugh. I will tell you, it was the most awful smell I've smelled.
Oh, I'd go over there and chip it off for $76 per pound.
Yeah. It smelled really bad, though. And there's birds everywhere, so you'd be shit on the whole time.
Somebody in the chat's going to be able to tell me, somebody in the chat for the premiere, which Iconoblast podcast, YouTube channel, somebody's going to be able to answer this question for me. There was a specific Roman politician that coined the phrase, money doesn't stink.
He's a liar.
No, he's absolutely right, because he became like a multi-millionaire off of selling piss.
Okay. I see what he meant by that.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat, I'm assuming.
Also, someone in the chat find out what guano's worth.
It's either going to be
2022.
It's either going to be frightening me, or it's going to be Ruben that answers that question.
Yeah, or Ghost. If
maybe
he's in there
maybe
today.
who Ghost there also.
No, see, Ghost might not answer, but a piece of ancient guano is going to show up here.
We're going to get a piece of, like, 3,000-year-old shit.
Yeah, pterodactyl turd.
So on its own, guano isn't going to directly save somebody from starvation.
Chicago.
Aside from a few adventurous outliers, humans don't directly eat bird or bat shit.
Hell no.
Except for the ones that caused corona. Instead, we use it to fertilize our crops due to its high concentration of nitrogen,
corona.
which is essential for growing all that food us fat fucks insist on eating on every single day.
Yummy.
So think about this. Without bird shit, we wouldn't have Twinkies.
That would suck.
It's a very serious thing. Is there somebody chasing are the cops chasing a...
There's been something going
criminal?
on for like the last 2 hours, yeah.
Okay, yeah, there's helicopters flying all over the place.
Our doors are locked or unlocked? They're unlocked.
I have no idea, honestly. Don't
If
even
someone
care at
runs
this
in
point.
here, let's hide him.
Help them
Save
escape?
him. Yeah.
All right, fuck
Innocent till proven guilty. That's the law.
It is. That's true.
So if he comes in here, we will protect him like he's innocent with our lives.
We'll protect him like Quasimodo seeking sanctuary. The limitations on harvesting guano put limitations on the size and amount of crops that could be produced by farmers. It wasn't the poop that we needed, though. It was the chemicals in the poop.
Poop's funny.
Primarily nitrogen. Poop is funny. The crazy thing is, nitrogen isn't rare. It's actually super common. Back in Haber's time, it was just really, really hard to get.
Nitrogen.
The reason that we needed all of the nitrogen is because we were...
Blimps.
No, it had nothing
that's
to do with
hydrogen.
blimps. No, yeah, it's hydrogen. Or
Sorry.
So we needed the nitrogen for... So it's not specifically nitrogen. I mean, nitrogen's a big part of it. What we needed were nitrates. We needed some way to get nitrates outside of poop and pee and all that stuff.
Poop and pee. It's funny. So poop, anal nitrates, it makes sense.
It's anal nitrates?
Yeah.
It's not anal nitrate. It's amyl nitrates.
Amyl?
Amyl.
Well, what are anal nitrates?
Nothing. I mean, anal nitrates would be shit. Like literal shit would be anal nitrates. You poop out nitrates.
Anal nitrates.
Yeah. You also pee out nitrates. Nitrogen. So this is how important nitrogen is to humans. The three most common substances in our bodies are, carbon?
Poop, pee, and farts.
Poop, pee, and a pussy. No, it's hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, I think, are the three most common. Anyway,
H2O.
The fourth most common chemical in our bodies is nitrogen. And it's extremely important for a lot of different chemical processes, like in life in general. Plants need it, animals need it, humans need it. Everything that's living needs nitrogen to survive, but you need a process to get the nitrogen. And that's one of the things that humans were trying to figure out. Because if you...
How to like, put nitrogen in a box,
well,
package it, sell it.
No, you need sustainable ways to get nitrogen, because nitrogen will naturally occur, but not on the level that humans needed to grow the amount of crops that we need to live on the scale that we're living at now.
Yeah.
So much of the nitrogen that naturally makes its way into plants is created by a complicated chemical process that occurs between lightning and particles in the atmosphere. And I spent... Yes, Joel, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Does it have to do with poop?
It has to do with nitrogen. Is that what Triple X used in Fast and the Furious?
I knew that's what you were going to ask. That is not the case. That's nitrous.
Nitrous oxide. Using nitro. Is there a similarity?
I'm sure that there's a little bit of a similarity, but no, nitrogen...
It's explosive. It makes the car go faster. Nitrogen is
So
used to make fertilizer.
there is a similarity, but I'm not familiar enough with chemistry to tell you what the similarity is. Nitrous oxide and nitrogen or nitrates or anything like that, they're separate things, but that's something that somebody much smarter than me and much more familiar with chemistry would be able to tell you. Okay. I had a hard time putting this together just because of the amount of chemistry that goes into it, where I thought that, I don't want to get too far ahead of the story, but the way that I thought things worked turned out to not be the way that it actually was. So I just kind of,
Like, in what regard?
dude, chemistry is fucking complicated.
Wait,
Super
why have you
complicated.
have you tried to understand chemistry?
Yes.
That's weird.
No,
Save that for the nerds, dude.
we do a show for nerds, technically.
Well, oh yeah, you are a nerd.
Uh,
Well, I'm a nerd
yeah,
too, but
I'm
okay,
not even
not nerd. Save
I'm
that
not
for the
even-
scientists. Is what I meant.
I'm
Take it
not
back.
even that
I'm a
good of a
fucking
nerd
huge
because
nerd.
I tried to figure out what this chemical process was. And
Nitrous is nitrogen and fucking biceps mixed together, and that's what makes the car goes fast.
How did you figure that out so fast?
Because I'm a nerd. Wait,
No, it's a lot more complicated.
my logic
than
is
that.
really not. There's no logic in my logic, so therefore it's no longer logic.
All right, so here's
It's retardation.
here's the rough dummy summary that I can throw out there, which is not correct. I can say that I'm
You
definitely
can be
missing a few
incorrect on
points.
our show. It's our show.
So there's atmospheric nitrogen, but because of the way the particles bond, it's very difficult to break that apart into something that we can pull out of the atmosphere. So the only
So
way that it
nitrogen's
actually
just floating
happens,
in the air.
yeah, yeah. I mean, nitrogen is one of the most common elements on the planet.
So we're breathing nitrogen sometimes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we're always breathing nitrogen. Always, like there's
Oxygen.
Yeah, it's NO2, or a part of it is NO2. Again, this is stuff that I'm not super familiar with because it's chemistry.
Yeah, we're going down
but-
a path we don't belong down.
So there are nitrogen atoms in the atmosphere that
Okay.
have a very strong triple bond that go together that takes an insane amount of energy to break apart. And the only way, for a long time, the only way to break that bond apart was with a massive burst of energy like a lightning strike. So when lightning strikes, it breaks apart these atoms. They're able to bond with oxygen atoms, and then those oxygen atoms are brought down to the soil by rain, and the rain puts those nitrates into the soil. The plants absorb that. Animals eat the plants, or humans eat the plants, and then we eat the animals that eat the plants, or other
Jesus
predators eat the animals.
Christ.
See, it's complicated, right? So yeah, there's a big process, but overall, the point that I'm trying to make, nitrogen or nitrates in particular are very, very important to life in general. Everything
What
needs
exactly
nitrates
do
or
they do?
nitrogen.
Is that what enables plants to make nutrients?
So nitrogen is part of a process. Nitrogen is one of the
Did we learn this in school?
it's okay. If I'm getting this right, it's an amino acid that makes up certain proteins. So overall, it's
Nitrogen
something.
makes protein?
The like long chain amino acids that make up. Dude, Joel,
Science doesn't
I
make
don't
any
know.
sense.
I don't know nearly enough about this to explain it to anyone. Just nitrogens make you big and strong.
Yeah.
Nitrates make
This
you big and
sounds
strong.
like the same bullshit
we'll go
that the
that way.
Bible feeds you. Anyway, continue.
It is much better research than that.
Sure it is.
No offense to the Bible. So anyway, much of the nitrogen that naturally makes its way into plants is created by a complicated chemical process that occurs between lightning and particles in the atmosphere. The atmospheric nitrogen is then carried to the ground by rain, where it is absorbed by plants, which are then eaten by animals, which are then eaten by humans, or humans eat the plants directly, and that's how we get our nitrogen. By developing a process that can capture the atmospheric nitrogen, humans would be able to give Thor the middle finger and produce nitrogen themselves. Now, again, I promise that this all has something to do with the German war criminal.
I was going to say, this isn't a science show. This is
This is all important. This is important.
It is
to
a learning
understand-
show.
This is important to understand the scope of what Fritz Haber did.
okay. It's all coming back to it.
So the Haber process was able to convert atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia, which is a nitrate that can be used in fertilizer to give plants what they crave. Did you get the Idiocracy reference? Haber had given humanity a means to produce 4 times the amount of food, which in turn allowed the population to grow 4 times larger. To this very day, around half of the nitrogen in your body is the result of the Haber process.
Wow.
Even for you and I, the nitrogen that we have in our body keeping us alive was produced by the Haber process. That's how influential this guy was over our current day lives in a positive way. So not like Thomas Midgley Jr.
He figured out a way to like make plants grow better.
Plants and as a byproduct, humans. He was able to create
Did you
something
eat the
that
plants?
yeah. He made it easier to. So it's the fertilizer is important because you need some way to replenish the nutrients in the soil that are going to make plants grow. If the nutrients in the soil aren't being replenished, everything's going to become barren. So that's what Haber did, is he created a process that allowed us to reintroduce nitrates to the soil, which if you have
Makes the plants grow.
If you have plants that aren't getting enough nitrates, they're going to be smaller.
Do the plants release nitrogen?
No, they release oxygen.
They release.
We eat the plants to get nitrogen.
So well, how do you get more nitrogen then?
That's a question to ask God.
Are we going to run out of nitrogen?
No, we're never going to run out of nitrogen. Because So
there's something reproducing it.
It goes through our bodies and we poop and pee it out.
And then the poop and pee goes to the plants, and then the plants become the nitrogen, and then we eat the plants. And then we poop out the plants, and then...
Close enough. It's a whole lot more complicated than that, but that's one of the ways.
It's the circle of life, is what you're saying.
It is the circle of life. That's correct. Yeah,
I've seen Lion King.
So around half of the nitrogen in your body is a result of the Haber process, and for this he was awarded the Nobel Prize. So we still haven't answered why Haber's peers snubbed him for his devious or obvious success. God, I can't see shit without him. I got to get some new glasses.
Haber, dude. Don't you think it is?
It's Haber.
Saw audio?
Every video that I watched about this guy, it was all Haber.
Haber doesn't sound as cool as Haber. Haber sounds like a cool Bond villain.
I don't think that he's going to care what we call him one way or another at this point.
Is he dead?
Oh yeah, he's been dead for a long time.
Okay.
Long time.
Couldn't invent a way to stay alive, could he?
I'm sure. Actually, no. Towards the end of his life, he probably didn't want to be alive anymore.
Was the guy that invented Freon and lead gas the same guy that invented the machine that killed him?
Yes.
That's that same guy.
Yeah, that was Thomas Midgley Jr.
I love that. That's a good episode to listen to if you want to.
See, those are the episodes that I get. Like this episode, I'm more excited talking about than common knowledge, because this is a guy that, same with Thomas Midgley Jr. I had never heard of him before, never had any idea how much influence he had over day-to-day life.
Dude, that dude was gangster.
Also,
I don't know what episode number is, but just search his name. It's in the title of one of the shows.
The Deadliest Man in History.
Is that the name of the show?
I'm pretty sure that we named it like The Deadliest
something
Man
like
in
that.
History or something.
Yeah. But that dude he would literally poison himself to keep his funding, to keep working on his shit, because he believed in it so much.
I think that Thomas Midgley Jr. and Fritz Haber had a decent amount in common.
What would happen if you got Thomas, Fritz, and the guy that was obsessed about rats all in the same room to work on a project together?
You'd probably end up with something that looks like a scene out of Hellraiser, I guess.
Well, no, it depends, right? It could go super well. Like, what we've learned from these crazy motherfuckers is they do a lot of good and they do a lot of bad, right? So maybe if they all, like, it's this, when it's so hard for humans to get a bunch of like-minded or super intelligent people in the same room, because they're always fighting, or it's always a different time, or they're in different places. If they were all on the same team, what could they do? You know, probably something awesome or catastrophic, but both would be cool.
Probably fight and then destroy the world.
Yeah,
that's why you got to keep them separate, let them figure out their own things, and then put those things together into bigger things. And then, I mean, eventually it's going to destroy our way of life as we know it, no matter what.
That's, I mean, this is weird to go to movies, but like, why American film became so fucking dominant over the whole world. It's unfortunate that it wasn't like scientists that got lucky like this, but that's the thing. Like George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, John Milius, and there's one other one, another famous director. But they all went to, what?
Uwe Boll.
Luc Besson. No, I don't know. Who's the other one?
Ed Wood.
That doesn't matter. But actually, though, they all happen to be on the same team with the same goals. They all went to the same film school, and then they changed cinema for the entire planet. If fucking scientists,
I mean, they have been doing that for years. I mean, that's how the scientific community works. They're
it
not.
Seems like they always are competing.
See, that's what differentiates science from a lot of other things. Is the purpose of science isn't to prove something right; it's to prove things wrong. Like that's how you test a theory. Is everybody has to try and prove it wrong and not be able to prove it wrong.
Yeah.
Or you're able to recreate the same experiment with the same results. So if the scientific community was fully cooperating with each other towards the exact same goal, they're going to prove a bunch of falsifiable things right, because that's a goal. So
I think they need to. It's the same like what these movie nerds did. What they did is they all work together to learn. They all have the same message, and then they all go pick their own movies to make. But they help each other with those goals, but they have their own goals. It seems like, I mean, this is based off
that's what
my ignorant
No, that's still what
knowledge
the scientific community does.
No, because this is entirely based off of listening to podcasts, so this is an ignorant statement that I'm saying. I say a lot of those on this show, but whenever there's directors, filmmakers, and shit on Joe Rogan or on podcasts that I listen to, like, what's it called? I can't remember. I listen to one movie podcast, and I feel so dorky when I listen to it, but I listen to it more often than I should. And then I listen to Joe Rogan and a couple others. But whenever there's filmmakers on, the filmmakers always praise each other. They want to work together. They'd love to do this. They'd love to do that. Whenever there's scientists, it's just disagree. He's doing his thing. I'm doing mine. I don't agree with that. Like it always feels like there's a separation. Only when you get to a certain point, when you are a scientist and you invented something or you created something or you have a theory, you're suddenly alone. Like Jordan Peterson, he has a lot of support, but he's like all alone on his journey. Like there's not.
I mean,
Do you know what I'm saying, though?
Well, he's going into the realm of psychology. It's not the physical sciences that we're talking about.
Jordan Peterson doesn't count. I'm talking more about
Well, no, that's to me that's.
So like politicians are the same too.
In terms of scientists, that's the scientific community doing what they're supposed to do. They shouldn't all be on the same page.
Yeah,
they can follow the same.
They're not
axioms.
doing it though.
They can follow the same axioms as a base point, but they need to disagree with each other.
Yeah, but they're doing the same shit that like religion did. Like, there's people, like they're literally they'll purposely shut down someone that when someone actually comes up with something scientifically that's like, oh, that is better.
I think that
people that have something else that's not as good but works, they will shut them down and burn them down.
I think that you're talking about what's his name, Malcolm Gladwell, the guy who has the fingerprints of the God. Is that Malcolm Gladwell?
No. I don't know who that is.
Because he's one of the people that's showed up on Joe Rogan that a lot of people don't understand. Like? He's the one. So Fingerprints of the Gods. He's talking about like human civilization advancing earlier than we thought that it did, but he takes it to another level where he's saying like, oh, well, if we don't know this, then it could have been a super advanced society, 20,000 years ago.
Yeah.
He's the one that I've seen on the Joe Rogan podcast that I've slowly lost respect for over time, because what people don't understand is he's not a scientist. He's an author. Like originally I think that he started off writing fiction.
Yeah.
So his story, Fingerprints of the Gods, that's him taking bits and pieces from some scientific research and then presenting it as a theory when what it actually was a fictional story.
Yeah.
And then he got pissed off that people were questioning his hypothesis. But it wasn't a hypothesis. It was a fictional story.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that guy.
So I think it's necessary that scientists are at odds with each other because they have to test each other's theories. They have to
I
test
get that.
the
You're
the
wrong
hypothesis.
until it's a fact that it's right.
If
it's like the opposite
everyone
of the
is
court
every single scientist is building off the work of scientists previous to them. It's how you build up. I mean, I guess you call them axioms. It's like this is the assumption that we're making to be true, and we're all going to agree that this is the true assumption that we're working from. So that's the new starting point that we're going to build off of. People can still question the axioms, and it's necessary that people are questioning these axioms, these
Isn't that
alleged
the case,
truths.
though? It's like, I mean, this is just from, it was a woman, I think, that was on Joe Rogan explaining how you can't really question shit in science anymore. It's more in the medical field.
And,
Like,
see,
so
anybody
if you're a
who has
scientist-
an issue with questioning anything in science, you should. All
right, but
of it
that's
should
the
be
problem with science and all
should
the
be
shit
questioned.
going on
If-
modern day.
If you're a scientist, if you're smart enough to, like, you can.
Scientists still need to get paid, Coop. That's why there's a flaw in science, because
Well, that's the issue with the universe. That's the flaw in pretty much
Humans.
any institution that
so
you build
scientists
that
will get
relies
paid
on money.
to prove something, and when other scientists are like, we've proven that's wrong, instead of being like, oh my God, that's a great discovery, that scientist who proves it wrong, his company gets bought out. He gets shipped off to Alaska.
There's
loses his
definitely
job.
There's no question.
And then they prove that he was wrong, even though he was right.
There's no question that there's issues with like dogmatic beliefs in the scientific community. Those are usually, like you were saying, the guys or girls that get way up on the top. They're like, oh, you can't question me. Like there's an Egyptologist who is very well known for just disregarding any new discoveries that has anything to do with Egypt, because he came up with his hypothesis. And he is following that to the grave. And that does influence the overall community as a whole.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's still people questioning things and moving outside of that, like, that's why scientists, they can't all push in the same direction. Like, it's necessary that they're all pushing or pulling in different directions.
Yeah, but they should support
question
each other,
everything.
is what I'm saying. Like, if
I mean, some of them do, but
it
if
should
you're
be more, because it's not working, I'm just saying, in my opinion. It's gone too far.
I think that science has been doing pretty well for quite a while.
It's doing great.
It's
'cause
been getting
life is
continually
good.
better.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's better than it was like 50 years ago,
Oh,
or 100
yeah.
years ago, or 200 years ago, or 300 years
I'm
ago.
sure it is. I guess I'd have to go there to find out.
Or
I
you
know
can
that
just-
before the
you can
internet.
just read about it.
Well, yeah, but you don't really get to know until you do it. It's like anything that you want to think you know, you have to do it to know. So we'll never really know how nice it was when you lived on a farm and your wife died at 32. You got a new wife. You had 6 kids. You worked the
32.
farm.
She lived to a ripe old age.
Yeah,
How many kids did she have?
but that was the
Only
norm.
13?
So you're not right now. When your grandma dies at 80, you're like, she lived a good life. It's the same what they thought at 30 or 50 or whatever it was before. When science improves it to live to 200, we will be 100 years from now being like, those motherfuckers died at 60. They were dying at 60, at 70. God, that must have been so hard. No, it's completely fucking normal for us. We don't even think about it. But when the life expectancy is at 150, well, and we don't know what it was like to live now, living in 100 years from now, they'll be like, oh my God, could you imagine if you only lived to 60? That must have been so hard. It's so much better now. It's so much better because we lived for 150 years. No, it's not better. Nothing is better than it was. Better is
Subjective.
subjective, yeah.
I think I can objectively say that I'm glad that I don't have to fight wolves on my way home.
True. It also depends on the person, right? I would be
I would say that that's the
fucking
general
stoked
consensus.
if I had to fight wolves on the way home. That'd be
General
fun.
consensus with Most people. I'm glad that my mother doesn't have to fight wolves off on a regular basis, or I'm glad that my sister doesn't have to fight.
If we had to fight wolves still, then we'd have a badass house to protect us from wolves, and you and I would be going together, fighting off wolves, and we would be the best at it. And it wouldn't even be hard.
And it would be the same. How much time does that take away from other things that you want to do?
No, it's the same. So if that was what it was, that would be our job. So it's just like any other job. If everybody had to fight off wolves, that would be the norm. So you would train for it. You go to school for it. As a kid, you would grow up to learn it. You would probably kill your first wolf at 12. By the time you're 18, killing a wolf is a walk in the park because you have to kill a wolf every time you walk in the park. It wouldn't be hard.
I don't understand what the argument is.
The argument is, right now, if you had to fight wolves in your state, it would be awful. Because we're in this time where that doesn't happen anymore. It wasn't awful when they had to do it.
Oh, right now, awesome. If a caveman had to do taxes, he would be fucking miserable too. Times change, obviously.
Right, so it's not better.
The problems change over the years. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
The fact that we've lowered the infant mortality rate, we've extended the human lifespan, we've lowered malnutrition down to historic levels. I'd say cool. Objectively overall, that's better for everybody. That's better for the survival of the species as a whole.
I would say that it's better for the survival of the species as a whole. I wouldn't agree with anything else.
I wouldn't object if I would have died at birth.
Me neither. And I think there's a lot of people...
We wouldn't be able to object because we would have been dead without modern medicine, and now we're here doing the show because of modern technology.
Which is not necessarily a good thing.
Potato.
There's probably millions of ineffective humans living because of science that would have died at birth or died within a few years. But because of being better, quote unquote, I'm doing quotes, a bunch of miserable people are alive.
Stephen Hawking and Albert Einstein and probably Nikola Tesla wouldn't have survived very long if we were still living by
that would have been
caveman standards.
Probably a good thing. Well, depending.
Yeah, it's a subjective thing. It's
exactly. It depends on what
you want overall.
What makes you happy. Yeah.
So we still haven't answered why Haber's peers snubbed him for his obvious success, and it wasn't jealousy, as I'm sure many people would assume. It was because Haber wasn't just a savior of life, he was also a merchant of death.
Speaking of fighting wolves.
This is on a different... Actually, no. Wolves probably killed more people over the course of history than Fritz Haber did.
If you're going to fight a wolf...
You might as well fight it on a ghost bed. Good enough. Every ghost bed mattress has a 20-year warranty. Some even have a 25-year warranty, which is older than some people lived throughout history. That used to be the
older
maximum
than any wolf
human
that ever
lifespan.
lived.
You can try it out for 101 nights, which is more time than you need to realize that these are the best mattresses ever made. If for some reason during that time you decide you don't want to sleep like a baby every single night, you can return the mattress with no hard feelings.
That's right.
Good luck doing that before modern society. You try to give something back that you took from a craftsman.
Never going to happen.
You're going to hit you in the head with an axe.
That's right.
One of our favorite things about Ghost Bed is that each mattress has cooling technology in it, so if you live in the South like we do, or if you have a lot of hot bodies in your bed, these things are a lifesaver.
Or if you have to fight wolves.
Or if you have
to fight wolves. At the end of a long day of fighting wolves, lay in that ghost bed.
Also, a ghost bed, those mattresses are so well built, I dare say they could stop a bullet.
Probably.
Ghost bed also...
If you get the mattress cover, I think they have a special edition right now only.
Kevlar mattress covers?
Yeah, it's a wolf cover.
We can't make promises that the sponsor can't follow through with. Ghost Bed also offers bundles so you can get everything you need. You don't even really have to think about it. Just choose from one of their 4 mattresses and then pick your bundle. So that whether you want just the mattress and a frame, or you want it all like their amazing pillows and sheets, you will always get the best bang for your buck. Right now, GhostBed is offering 40% off GhostBed bundles where you get a mattress and adjustable base, or you can get 30% off your entire order when you use the promo code DrinkinBros at ghostbed.com/DrinkinBros. You can buy a mattress for around $35 per month, and they have no money down, 0% financing plans for up to 60 months. Go check it out at ghostbed.com/DrinkinBros. GhostBed, sleep so good it's scary, and it will save you from wolves. All right, this next sponsor actually probably could save you from some wolves. I think that's safe enough to say because it's Simply Safe.
Oh, for sure then.
So here's a question. Is there anything more precious than the safety of you and your loved ones? You want to protect them from wolves?
If you're going to be attacked by wolves,
get Simply Safe. Old school home security companies set you up with outdated technology, overcharge you for service, and lock you into binding multi-year contracts. And that's why we here at the Iconoblast podcast use Simply Safe Home Security. Simply Safe protects you with cutting-edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/icon.
Yeah.
Go today to claim a free indoor security system plus 20% off with interactive monitoring.
Yeah.
Go to simplysafe.com/icon because there's no safe like Simply Safe.
Yeah.
Can we get back into the story now?
Yeah.
We done? All right.
I'm sorry for that tangent. I bet you, last thing on that, and we'll move on. I bet you when religion was new, it was the same like science, and they thought it was changing the world and saving it. And then that's what everyone thinks about science. And science
When religion was new, like 50,000 years ago?
50,000 years ago. And it worked, and it
was a
kind
hot
of
new
worked.
thing on the block, and it was like, no, this
Now
is
it's
this is
fading
all
away.
bullshit.
Science will be the next thing for 50,000 years, and then that'll fade away, and we'll become cyborgs.
50,000 years ago, everybody was like, no, just wait. Science is going to come along. It's going to be so much better.
Well, whatever the next thing is, they'll look back on if we survive long enough for the next thing happens.
Well, see,
They'll be like, you know how we have
difference- medieval
medieval times, the different periods that
the difference between
it'll be
the
religion
difference
time,
between
science
religion-
time, and the next time.
Well, I mean, there's been science and religion for a long fucking time now.
Not that long. It's a blink of an eye in the time of the universe.
Yeah, in the long scheme of things, I mean, the entire human existence is less than a blink of an eye in like astronomical terms.
So how can you be so sure about anything?
I can't. You can look at where things have gone and where they're going, and you can make a pretty safe assumption. Like, I don't think science is the end-all, be-all. The difference between science
Neither is
and
AI.
religion is, well, AI is going to be the next step in the process, and anything beyond AI, we do not have the mental capacity
Or
to imagine.
The reason why, if those theories about how we keep cycling, the civilization grows to a certain point, collapses and restarts,
So
and
science
restarts.
isn't the end-all, be-all. The difference between science and religion is the fact that religion isn't supposed to be questioned, and science is.
Well,
So that's why it's
sort of.
the
Don't
newest
question.
iteration
If
of-
you question it, you'll
That
get your
is
Instagram.
That is literally
If you question science now,
the
you get your
purpose-
Instagram banned.
well, we're getting political now. That's bullshit.
But it's
That is
true, though.
Oh no, it's true, but it's absolute bullshit that's happening.
But
The
it's
purpose of
but it
science
is happening.
is to be questioned. If you can't question the science, that is fucking retarded.
Yeah, that's
Like
but
that is
legal.
one of the
That's,
things
like,
that I will
actually
call
what's happening.
full-blown retarded with a hard R. Is you're not able to question the science. That's dumb as fuck because
Yeah, that's
science
it's,
is
hate
meant
speech.
to be questioned. Like if you can't question
Not if the government
scientific
says it's true.
theories if you can't question a hypothesis, it's not a fucking hypothesis. And that pisses me off so much because the contradictory ideas can be so fucking outlandish. I don't care. As long as they're able to be questioned.
Yeah,
You have to be able to call things into question.
that's
no
how I
matter
feel about
what.
like I feel that about believing in something. Like anyone that talks shit about someone that believes in God or believes in fucking flat Earth, I'll never hate on them for that because I think that living and being alive, you need a purpose of any kind. You need to believe as a human. I don't really give a fuck what you believe in. Science, religion, flat earth, aliens. If you believe in that cars are alive, I don't give a fuck what it is. If it gives you purpose to brush your teeth every day and work hard, fucking believe in whatever you want. That's what I think. But yeah. That's all.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. So fans of conspiracy theory podcasts, such as the Con Men podcast, will recognize
Facts.
some of the terms
Wait,
mentioned
can't say that.
recently. Primarily ammonia and nitrate. Those are two terms that we brought up earlier. Do you know where ammonia and nitrate go together? Mm-hmm. Put the two together and you get ammonium nitrate.
Explosions.
You put that in a box truck and park it outside of a federal building in Oklahoma, and you get the Oklahoma City bombing. The same process that allowed humans to grow 4 times the amount of food also powered the German war machine in World War I. I know that's a bit of a jump, but
Okay, it's jumping way back.
nitrates are explosive.
Are you trying to say that nitrates are Nazis?
Shh. That's a conclusion of my hypothesis.
Well,
During the
it's
war-
scientific, so we should be able to question that.
You can question it all you want. Do you have any questions?
Yes. Did Nazis invent fertilizer?
No.
This guy did.
No.
Okay. No further questions.
During the war, Haber lobbied to have some of the factories producing chemicals using his method switch to creating nitrates for explosives to be used in the war. So at this point, just to recap, he was producing ammonia in these factories, and then he switched a portion of the factories over to just specifically create nitrates for explosives for World War I. This is roughly like 1914, 1915, so like 3 to 4 years before the war ended. They what?
They were paying him to do that? Or they
Oh
forced
yeah,
him
dude,
to do
he
it?
was making bank.
So he was...
He was fucking.
Was
he
he-
was making money hand over fist.
Before he started making weaponry for a war, basically is what he's doing, right?
He was still making money hand over fist. He was
before that. No, I mean before that. What was he? Why was he making that shit before that? Because that
because it would make him money hand over fist.
was his original intentions to make things that kill humans, or was he trying to make things that fed humans?
That's an interesting thing about Haber, is it didn't seem to matter.
He wasn't thinking either way.
He was just creating.
He was just trying to make money.
He wasn't asking should I. He was asking could I.
For
Can
money.
I do this?
What was the driving force? Obviously, money. So he's a cunt.
I don't disagree that he was a cunt. I would
don't
say
think
that
you're cunt. You didn't want money, so I take that back. But
I don't think he would. No, okay. Haber was a bit of a cunt, just because. So I don't think that he was doing it specifically like, oh, how much money can I make off of this? It's more like, can I do this? And then he's living off of the results of him finding out that he could do these things.
he could.
But he was very, I'd say, morally gray.
Was he ever married? Did he have family?
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into that in just a minute.
Okay.
It's a little tragic.
Sorry for the tangents.
But
ladies and gentlemen.
overall, I'd say that he is. I would consider him to be pretty much 100% morally gray, because it never really seemed to affect him. Like whatever the results, he just wanted to do shit. He didn't really seem to care
what the effects are.
what the shit was used for. Now, he had a little bit of patriotism to him. I mean, in terms of like when World War I started, one of the first things that
He was
he did
like, I
is
believe in the Nazi movement.
no, that's World War I. Nazis didn't come until after he was dead.
Oh, okay. World War One.
Yeah, World War I. So I think that out of patriotism, that's when he switched from making just ammonia just for the fuck of it. I mean, it's not really for the fuck of it. It's still producing a lot of fertilizer and helping people out, but he had zero qualms with switching some of the factories over to creating explosives for the Germans, but he did it out of patriotism. Like
the Germans.
He wanted to support his country, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The next thing that he did, I've got a little bit of a problem with. So during the war, Haber lobbied to have some of his factories producing chemicals using his method, switched creating nitrates for explosives to be used in the war. His request was granted, and the Haber process began being used to produce weapons for the Germans. His discovery was now being used to not only feed the population, but to blow them the fuck up as well.
Yeah.
So, do you know the story behind the Nobel Prize?
No.
I think this is...
I think we talked about this before once.
We might have talked about it at some point, but I think that this is very
But I don't remember.
Also, full disclosure, this alleged origin of the Nobel Prize is a little apocryphal. It might not actually happen.
Your hypocrisy knows no bounds.
Hypocrisy and hypocrisy are not the same thing. So the Nobel Prize is named after Swedish chemist Alfred Nobel, and according to legend, Nobel created his titular prize after reading a mistakenly printed obituary that called him a merchant of death. The reason for the title was his invention, which was dynamite, that had been used...
Who made dynamite?
Alfred Nobel.
Okay.
The guy who created the Nobel Prize, invented dynamite.
That's right.
Which had been used extensively in combat to maim and kill countless soldiers. Out of regret, he created the Nobel Peace Prize. That story's most likely bullshit because there's no proof that this obituary... So the full story is...
The regret part's the bullshit part.
Somebody... somebody allegedly... His obituary got printed early before he'd actually died. Somebody had misreported his death. And he read the paper, and it was an obituary for him, and they were saying that he was a merchant of death, and they were glad that he was dead because he was such a monster. So he thought,
he invented dynamite?
Yeah, I need to change my life because I've killed so many people with my inventions, and I need to do something for the good of humanity. So he created the Nobel Peace Prize. Most likely that story's bullshit. But...
So why'd you tell it?
Regardless, because the irony of this alleged origin of the Nobel Prize is that the future recipient, Fritz Haber, was using a process that earned him the Nobel Prize to create the very thing that Alfred Nobel regretted inventing. Blowing people up wasn't efficient enough for a go-getter like Haber, though. He thought he could come up with a much more efficient way to kill soldiers than Alfred Nobel ever could, and he was right.
What? This is...
Getting lost in the weeds?
Oh, I think I know what he invented, but I'm going to let you say it.
All the way back in 1914, Haber witnessed an early chemical weapons test that gave him a brilliant idea. What if he could make the chemicals even more deadly and easier to disperse into trenches? Mm-hmm. He answered that question by inventing chlorine gas, one of the most brutal weapons ever unleashed in war.
What color was it?
I think it was like a yellowish color.
Mustardy?
Something like that. It wasn't mustard gas.
No?
Mustard gas is actually different.
Oh, okay.
Mustard gas is different
I thought it was mustard
chlorine
gas this whole time.
No, chlorine gas is like the grandfather of other nerve gases. Haber defended his invention, claiming that it was much more humane than being shot or blown up because apparently choking on your own fluids is much more humane than just getting vaporized by a fucking explosion.
Well, I mean, getting shot and dying over 3 days sucks.
If I had to choose between getting shot and dying or dying from some sort of chemical agent, I think that I would go with being shot.
I would pick whichever one was fastest.
So
and that's the problem with bullets because it all depends on the wound.
Some of the new ones, like some of the new nerve agents, might be a little bit faster. It's going to be so. Back in World War I era, I would choose getting shot or blown up over getting hit with chlorine gas or mustard gas or anything like that.
Yeah. Ugh.
So apparently Haber thought that choking and suffocating on your own bodily fluids was more humane than being vaporized by an artillery shell. And when his assistant Otto Hahn informed him that the new weapon made him uncomfortable, Haber told him, and I quote, innumerable human lives will be saved if the war could be ended more quickly in this way. Kill more people faster and the war is going to be over sooner.
That kind of makes sense, though.
It
In a morbid way.
It's the same justification behind the Gatling gun, though.
End it now.
But it's just making war more deadly. Because it's not changing the human condition, it's changing the way that we end each other's lives. So it's making it more efficient to kill people.
The problem with that is it doesn't work.
It doesn't work because
it just kills more people and more people die, but the war is still just as long.
His invention was so fucked up that it made a German guy named Otto tell him to tone it the fuck down. Haber's new weapon of mass destruction was later deployed in combat. In the very first instance of chlorine gas being unleashed on the enemy, it killed 5,000 soldiers. 5,000 Allied soldiers in the very first deployment of chlorine gas. He oversaw this attack himself. Like, he went to the front lines to oversee this first attack. Well, I don't know if I don't want to attribute motive or anything like that, but he was sent to the front lines as a part of the military to oversee this attack using a weapon that he had developed and make sure everybody's using it the right way. Killed 5,000 people in the first attack. And that's just the first time a chemical weapon was used in warfare.
Oh, God.
Although only used a handful of other times, stories of the horrific deaths caused by gas reached the public, causing his peers to turn their backs on him.
Daddy so fucked up.
Foreshadowed earlier, there was some of his scientific peers that didn't want to go to his Nobel ceremony.
Yeah.
That's why.
Before the gas only just made them be like, oh, and they just like started giggling and laughing, and then they're like, ah! Then it'd be awesome.
if you could just make them like horny and happy and rolling
like,
around.
Yeah,
like
if they all go on ecstasy for like 30 seconds.
A cloud dispersed version of ecstasy that just makes nobody want to fight.
Yeah, and they fall asleep and die.
Why do they have to die at that point?
It's because war still needs to be violent, and we could use less people.
Well, I can tell you that I guarantee that even if we had a weapon that would just cause the enemy to stop fighting and lay there and be like, oh, let's go, we'd walk through and we'd shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. Before the war was even over, the stain on Haber's career came to haunt him. While visiting home, he and his wife hosted an arguably enjoyable dinner party for some of their friends. After their guests had left, Haber got ready for bed, and his wife Clara took a walk in the garden. In her hand, Clara carried her husband's service revolver. In the garden, she put the pistol to her chest and pulled the trigger. Their son found her dead in the garden soon after.
She killed herself?
She killed herself, but it's debated whether or not that had anything to do with his chemical weapons testing or if it was just her being unhappy, because apparently
all of it together.
It might have been a combination of all of them, but I think before the war even started, she had sent letters to her friends saying like,
what am I
just
doing this for?
Here, and I'm this dude's wife, and I'm just having kids, and nothing's going on, and I'm really unhappy. Like, is this
why am I doing
all
this?
life is?
And then he kills 5 billion people. Or
it's like, hey, yeah, I'm out. It might have had some influence. I think overall she was just unhappy.
Well, this goes back to what we're learning from Crime Corner too. Like, why did she have to kill herself? Why didn't she just leave?
Back then, it would have been way harder than it is nowadays.
So there's the reason.
Because at that point, she's already had a couple kids. She's already had a husband. Divorced single mothers.
I mean, you could run away and go to a new. All you have to do is go to a new town, and no one knows who you are.
Still a single mother. Like back then, single mothers were not in high demand. So
you don't think she could go to a new town and find a new man, and get married right away?
Not on the same level as Haber.
Well, yeah, not on the same level as a mass murderer, but you know.
Who was making a very good...
Maybe a farmer would be nice. Something small, something simple.
He was making a very good living at the time.
Simple life might be what she needed.
I think that she would have a hard time even finding a simple life after that, considering the times. Like it was way more judgmental back then. Yes. Way more judgmental than it is now.
She could do a fake accent and say, "I just fled my country. Please help me."
Did she bring the kids with her?
No, you got to leave the kids or you're fucked.
Who's going to take care of the kids?
Not her.
The war criminal?
Well, if
you're going to leave your kids with the war criminal and just fuck off to a different country and
that's
hook
what
up
she
with some
did.
other guy?
That's what she did. She killed herself.
Yeah, good point.
So that's already out of the question, right?
For the remainder of the war, Haber ran an institute in charge of researching chemical weapons and countermeasures for the German military. As the years wore on, newer and more deadly chemical weapons were introduced, adding to the ever-increasing body count. By the end of the war, over 100,000 soldiers total were killed by chemical attacks.
That he made.
And no, that's
that he invented.
Total on both sides. So,
but because he started
it's escalating the violence where
he was the match.
Created a better version of the chemical weapons. They worked well, so the enemy side's going to start trying to one up them. Then
he was the match that started
and it gets worse and worse.
This piece of shit cocksucker motherfucker, dude.
Oh, he was definitely a piece of shit. I don't know what his motives were overall, but he was definitely a piece of shit.
No motives is the scariest. If he didn't carry it away, that's scary.
It is a little bit scary.
He's a
because
boiled, dripping, beef fart, sniffing bubble butt.
That is unchained intelligence just being unleashed upon the world. And he's like a...
Intelligence. You can put that in quotes.
He was a genius. He was obviously a genius.
That's not a good thing.
I'm not saying it was a good thing. I'm just saying... So that's... The way that Haber was unleashed upon the battlefield, that's the same thing that's going to happen when AI is finally invented.
I thought you were going to say it's the same thing like when AIDS happened.
No, that was the CIA. That wasn't the Germans. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, an armistice was signed in a railroad carriage in northern France, marking the beginning of the end of World War I. The following year, Haber was awarded the Nobel Prize for the process that brought him so much success, but also so much pain. His factories returned to producing fertilizer, and Haber began working on his next invention.
There's another one?
Another invention.
Did he even care that his wife died? Is there anything about if he was sad?
I didn't find any information on that, but I mean,
he wasn't. He didn't care.
That wasn't the
like
part
he
of
didn't care.
It wasn't the part of the story that I cared about, at least. I mean, not out of being heartless. It's just that the next thing that he made, way more interesting than his wife dying. A natural transition from making something that helps crops grow and then making stuff that kills people is to make something that kills things that stop crops from growing. Under Haber's leadership, a group of chemists at his institute began developing an insecticide that could be used to fumigate grain stores. The insecticide they produced was highly effective, but dangerous due to its lack of odor. An odorant was added to the new formulation, and they began to sell it commercially. So just saying, this particular part occurred during Haber's lifetime, because some of it happens afterwards. A handful of years later, and by a handful of years later, I mean after Haber's death, because I don't want to attribute... I don't want to attribute anything to him that he wasn't actually there to make the decisions for. He helped create the insecticide. He helped create the insecticide.
Super fertilizer, chemical warfare.
Later, handful of years later, representatives from the German government approached Haber's Institute with a request. They wanted to purchase his insecticide, but they wanted a new formula that didn't have the added odor. Why would they want that? The chemists at the Institute agreed to the request and began producing two versions of the insecticide. The first commercial version was Zyklon A. The government version was Zyklon B.
That sounds familiar, but I don't know what it is.
Have you ever seen Falling Down?
No.
The one with, what is it, Michael Douglas? Well, here, I'll explain it to you. Haber never learned of the atrocities committed by the Nazis using Zyklon B. As the Nazis rose to power, Jews were forced out of their jobs, including a number of Jewish chemists. So, okay, for anybody that doesn't know, Zyklon B is what they used to gas the Jews
that was the gas.
in the gas chambers.
My mind, that's how slow my neural processor is. It took me that long to remember what it is.
He created a way to literally save the world by making enough food
For everybody.
for 4 times the amount of people to live on Earth. And literally both of us, 50% of the nitrogen in our bodies is because of the Haber process.
Our great-grandpas were also killed by the gas.
Then he went on to make chlorine gas. And then the last thing that he did before he died is he created Zyklon A, or the institute that he ran created Zyklon A, that the Nazis later turned into Zyklon B and used during the Holocaust.
Well, no, he said he agreed to making the non-stinky kind.
No, he didn't. That was well after his death, because they didn't ask for Zyklon B until probably a good...
I thought you just said that he was like, I'll take the job.
the institute.
I'll make 2 different versions.
The Haber Institute developed Zyklon A, or just Zyklon. And then after Haber left and then ultimately died, that was when the Nazi government came in and said, can you make another version of this insecticide that doesn't have any odor to it? Because it was a cyanide-based insecticide.
Yeah. I thought you said that he agreed to that and just made it without knowing what it was for.
No, the original Zyklon, that was just specifically an insecticide. It was after his death that they actually changed it into Zyklon B. So Haber never had any agreement with the Nazis to create Zyklon B. That was the Haber Institute.
Dude, quick side tangent. Now that we're talking about gassing humans, I had a conversation with my wife, like a week ago, about this,
farts?
About this shit. One of like the biggest fucking camps was in the Czech Republic, and there was I actually was talking to Dan about it, and he knew the guy's name that ran the camp. His nickname was like the Butcher of Prague, and basically they gassed and killed a shit ton of people at this certain giant camp, and it's in Czech, and she's been there. Like, you go there when you're a kid, and she said that it is fucking awful. You walk through the gas chambers. There's shooting. What's it called when you shoot someone to kill them?
What, firing squad?
Firing squad room. She said the hallway is as far as you can see. It's so long. Like, they would shoot like 300 people at a time. Like, line up 300 people, kids, women, and children.
Shit. Because
the gas chambers were taking too long. And she said that walking around in that place is so fucked up. You can feel it. And she says it still smells like burned bodies.
Ugh.
And Dan, when I was talking to Holloway about it, he was like, it's probably sulfur, and he like explained the breakdown of human bodies staying in the earth, why the smell would still be there. But it's fucked up, and it's this guy's fucking fault.
No, it's not Haber's fault.
Yeah, it is.
Well, he
invented it.
Well, he developed the early version of the
That's like
gas.
if you invented like a nuclear bomb and you kept it in your room and then you died and then someone found it and then made 50 of them.
Well, then that would be like saying that you can blame every firearm death since gunpowder was invented in China thousands and thousands of years ago on a single person.
Yeah, the Chinese are responsible for every death that is done by a gun.
Okay, I'll get behind that.
There is always a source, right?
Anyway, Haber never learned of the atrocities committed by the Nazis using Zyklon B. As the Nazis rose to power, Jews were forced from their jobs, including a number of Jewish chemists working at Haber's Institute. Although his military service exempted him from the policy, Haber resigned from his position out of solidarity with his colleagues.
Working at Hobby Lobby.
He didn't agree with the Nazi government, so even though he didn't have to resign from his position, he resigned, and then kind of realized that once he resigned, because he was Jewish, he better get the fuck out of Germany as soon as he could.
Wait, so I thought he was dead.
No, not at this point.
So he did know that they were making fucking...
No, he didn't. I was... So.
Oh, you jumped ahead. Okay, no, I got it. Yeah.
So the Haber Institute, while he was still working there, developed Zyklon.
He left.
And then as soon as the Nazis started rising to power in the 1930s, a bunch of his colleagues got forced out of their jobs because they were Jewish. He didn't have to be forced out of his job because of his military service in World War I, but he resigned out of solidarity, and then as soon as he resigned, that kind of put him on the chopping block, so him and a bunch of his Jewish colleagues got the fuck out of Germany.
And then they
as
made
they should.
Zyklon B.
No, it was already made at that point.
So he did know
they made Zyklon A, which was just an insecticide, and then probably like 8 years later, the Nazi government came to the Institute and said, hey, take this Zyklon and get rid of the smell.
Right. That happened after he resigned?
Well, after he resigned.
Okay, that's what I was saying.
Like probably about a decade, close to a decade after he resigned. Because he resigned in like 1932.
Okay.
1932, 1933.
But he probably would have took the job if he was still there. Based off his history of taking jobs.
Realistically, yeah, he probably would have done it just to be like,
he would have got a better deal.
Can I get rid of the odor in this and make it even more deadly?
Well, because didn't you say it started without an odor?
Well, yeah, and they added...
So he was like, oh, maybe we should add an odor so we could save people.
Yeah, that was the overall reasoning behind it, is similar to propane. Like propane...
Yeah,
wouldn't naturally have a smell to it, but they add a smell to it because it's
so it's
a deadly gas. Yeah, if you smell it, you should get the fuck out of there.
Or turn your propane tank off.
After leaving Germany, Haber bummed around Europe for a while, visiting Paris, Spain, and Switzerland. After being offered a director position in an institute in the Middle East, Haber began traveling to meet his new team.
Was he attractive?
No. No.
So he wasn't bumming around banging.
No. He's also like in his like mid-60s at this point.
Wasn't a problem for Ben. Jaman.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Frank Land.
Well, Benjamin Franklin also wasn't working with toxic chemicals for the majority of his adult life.
True.
His age and a lifetime of working around dangerous chemicals had taken their toll, leaving him in poor health. He only made it as far as Basel, Switzerland, before dying at the age of 65 on January 29th, 1934. And that's how Fritz Haber died. Haber.
How'd he die?
Heart failure. At the age of...
Too much cocaine.
Might have been a little bit, but he was also working around insanely dangerous, deadly chemicals for the majority of his adult life. I think that probably had a little bit more to do with it. Slightly.
That's crazy, dude. He invented
quadrupled
the food supply.
And a process
made mustard gas, a version of it.
Chlorine gas, the precursor to mustard gas. He created a way for humans to produce... He didn't kill the Jews himself. That was done after his death. The Holocaust didn't start until well after his death. Because he contributed a very...
He built that company.
Effective part of the process.
He built the tank that someone else bought.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
After starting off making something that we literally owe to him to this day.
And something
which is
bad.
The part that...
That's the thing. That
tripped me out.
He's a motherfucking titty-sucking, two-balled bitch. He did one thing good and two things bad. That's 30% good.
The strange thing is, overall...
He must have been so shitty because his wife killed herself.
She was unhappy before that, but...
Because he's a cunt.
Yeah, considering the career path that he had, I think that he probably wasn't the easiest person to live with.
Yeah.
He would have just been cold and calculating the entire time.
Yeah, fuck that.
Well, that's it for this episode. I really need to pee.
All right,
that's it for this episode of the Iconoblast Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Iconoblast Podcast. You can follow me at Coop Nukem. You can follow Joel at Joel R. Benner. Go and get some of our merch. Shop.drinkingbros.com.
That's right.
All you
Hit the search.
Search for Iconoblast. You're going to find all our new shit.
Yep.
Buy all of it. Please buy all of it. Christmas is coming up. Your family wants presents.
Get some shirts. There's girl shirts, there's guy shirts, there's different colors. We got hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, tank tops, all that. And we're going to have stickers and hats very soon.
So for next week, we're coming up on the Marine Corps birthday. I'm thinking that we're going to do a Marine episode next.
Okay, cool.
We'll see what happens, and we'll see you all next week. So that's it for this episode of the Iconoblast podcast. My name is Matt Cooper.
I'm Joel Benner.
And we're reminding you to never take anything at face value.